welcome to my channel. So today I felt like doing a little bit of a chatty vlog. I hadn't done one of these in a little while. So I've got my tea here. It's a chamomile vanilla honey tea, and it is really, really good. So I have my little enjoy mug, and I was enjoying some tea. I thought I would do a little tea chat. Haven't done in a while. And I have a couple Disney videos coming up for you, but this is kind of a topical video that is a little bit different from videos that I normally do. But I'd seen something recently and I had a little bit of insight that I thought would be helpful to share. And I don't really get into like other people's business, like other creators, other people on YouTube. I will stand up for things that I feel are kind of wrong in a sense, not to put like right and wrong labels on things, but things that are out there that happen and kind of make influencers look bad, for lack of a better term. And so a lot of times this happens in the Disney community because I'm more connected with like that community and things that happen there. So there's been things that happened recently, like the travel agent, and I'm not going to name any names, but the travel agent that didn't leave a tip at a Disney restaurant and then made a big deal out of it on social media and then started a GoFundMe and just went downhill really, really quickly. I mean, I spoke out against things like that, you know, kind of publicly in Disney groups because I don't like when people aren't treated right, and that was very clearly an instance of someone was being treated wrong and very publicly. And I think that when people do things like that, they kind of represent our industry as a whole, and I hate when people make us look bad by doing something like that. So I just want people to know that not everyone is like that. There was another incident in the Disney community that happened where a lady was there. She was a streamer, a live streamer, and she was kind of walking down Main Street, and someone in her party was sick. They'd only been open like a week after COVID had hit and they'd reopened, and she was like loudly talking like through one of these shops about how sick her friend was, and just going on and on. And you could see like people like flipping around with like fear on their faces behind her, just the timing. And so like when these things get brought up, like I don't feel like I'm in the wrong for voicing my opinion, but I'm not going to intentionally like drag anyone. But the topic today I wanted to share about was one that had kind of popped up in my feed as a suggested, and it caught my attention because I too am a US taxpayer and also a video creator. And the topic was about PPP loans and the fact that some creators that do have businesses, and yes, these are all businesses for a large part of people on YouTube that we have and we run, because we have to file taxes, we have to claim our expenses, and we have to do that whole bit. And so I think that a lot of people are more open these days about the fact that this is a business and you do use revenue from the business. But I think that obviously because everything that you do is on display and it's there cataloged throughout history, you can't have like a revisionist history where you say you did things that you didn't and things like that. And so taking out PPP loans, and I don't know a ton about those, but the topic that I did want to share is YouTube specific today. Taking out things like that can be more scrutinized than if you're just like a lawyer business or whatever. So I got really interested in this, and there was a channel, also a business, just keep in mind, that has started making their living, or you know, getting more views out of basically naming names and dragging people and whatever, because it's like a juicy topic, right? So this is what popped up in my feed. But the thing that was interesting to me, and the reason why I'm making this video today, just getting around to the point, because you know how I am, we'll be here for 20 minutes today, is once I got down to the comments, I started seeing a lot of people saying like, oh, well, YouTubers, like they don't need this money because everyone was home, their business was not shut down, and you know, they were still getting lots of views and this and that and the next thing. And so as I started seeing those comments, as I was kind of scrolling down through the comments, and just in the interest of honesty, I did not watch the whole video, I just watched a little excerpt. And a lot of times what I'll do with videos is I will just actually go through and read comments, because sometimes that's just the most interesting part, right? So I was going through and I was reading the comments, and I was like, ooh, you know, there's a little bit of background there that it's very different, and I think would be helpful for viewers to understand, because YouTubers actually were affected by the pandemic, and I can give you my examples as a YouTuber. And if you aren't aware, I have this channel that you're watching, but I have multiple monetized channels. and they're different topics. So the really interesting part about that, about having different channels with a lot of different variety of topic videos, is you can actually see in the background when different topics take off, when YouTube's really leaning into certain topics and really suggesting those, and you can kind of see when things fall off the radar. You can also see when ad rates across the board just plummet because it will happen across all of your channels. And you can also see, you know, when certain types of videos are taking off or getting better ad rates than others. So that's the really interesting position that I'm in that I think is very unique to me, because I've had a number of different channels, and a lot of these channels are just sitting up there. I don't really do a lot with them anymore, but they're kind of still garnering views. I think that people don't understand that aspect of YouTube. It's not just when this video goes out, it's the life of the videos. The videos definitely have a life. And so a lot of times when you are a creator, like take me for instance, I'm a creator, and just to be completely honest with you, especially on this channel, we'll just use this channel as an example because this is where you are. A lot of times travel videos are the ones that for whatever reason the YouTube algorithm really likes suggesting of mine. So that has been obviously where I've started to focus, and obviously 2020, as we've talked, that was where I was going to put the primary focus and really pivot to being just exclusively travel. That's what I got the best ad rates on. That's what I really love to do. And so that has all just connected with YouTube as well. And with this channel specifically, doing travel videos was the best alignment. So of course I was going to pivot into travel in 2020 and COVID. So that didn't work out. But anyhow, we'll get back to traveling eventually. But what I did want to kind of talk about today is how YouTube did get affected by the pandemic. And yes, YouTubers did not have to completely shut down their businesses. And I definitely don't want anyone to take this as that I'm defending anyone, because, you know, everyone's actions are their own, and, you know, they have to own that. But I did see a number of comments where people were confused and saying like, well, YouTubers are still able to get a bunch of views and they weren't affected. They should be better off. And so I did want to share just my background knowledge of how YouTubers were affected. So first of all, YouTube views and the revenue that you make off of them is a very complicated math equation that varies based on time of year, where the video is viewed, the type of video. It is not a one-to-one for even a single YouTuber that has different channels. From one channel to the other, I make drastically different revenue, and it really depends on a number of things. Like I said, time of year, the type of video, the location that the viewer is watching in. All of those can affect your CPM of the revenue that you're getting off the video. So, for example, when the pandemic started, I noticed immediately in my trends that how-to and DIY videos were starting to take off in March. I also unfortunately had just gone, not unfortunately because it was fun, but I had just gone on a Disney trip, and I immediately noticed in my trends that it was not reacting how Disney videos normally would for me. And so I was able to kind of pick up on those two things kind of simultaneously happening at the same time. DIY and how-to videos were starting to pick up, and then a little bit of learning videos as we got down into the end of March. And travel views just basically plummeted. I mean, if you look at the Disney videos from February and compare those even to the ones when we went in October, they're drastically different because they reacted when they went into search differently. And so it's not just about the life of the video that initially goes out to your viewers, it's about the whole life of the video. And a lot of people may garner a lot of their views from subscribers, but I'm a great example of I'm really horrible at getting people to subscribe. I do have a base of subscribers, hello, that come and watch my videos, but by and large, the majority of my views are after the videos go into search. So I'm a great case study of what happens when videos go into search and get searched out, and what things are affecting those. So I can tell you from that immediately when the pandemic started and everything shut down and no one was searching for travel, no one was even thinking about travel, views obviously on travel videos plummeted. I mean, Disney closed, and other than people occasionally watching a video like what may happen, views on researching restaurants, researching resorts, all of that, they plummeted because Disney was closed. It's obviously one very fine example, but travel in general in the creator industry, it plummeted, and it's just now starting to creep back up. To give you a general idea, and this is just a generalization, normally when we go to Disney, a majority of the revenue that I will make in the month or two after we go to Disney will basically pay for that trip. And that did not happen in February. Obviously, that was a little bit of a different scenario because we were there for a conference. But the amount of money that I would anticipate normally making off of a Disney style video and that CPM during that time of year did not happen during that time period. So immediately there was an effect when the pandemic started. And notably, when we went in October, it was much lower than usual, but it had started to creep back up. There's more people searching out videos about travel. There's more people kind of looking for those things and starting to think about when they can do that ahead. That's obviously very one fine example. But what I saw happen across the board, across multiple of my channels, is in March, ad rates kind of plummeted from what you would generally expect CPM to be. And what that is for the same amount of views, you get paid different rates depending on what kind of ad is being served. And so this has changed drastically over the years. When I initially started on YouTube, the rates were much, much higher. So for 20,000 views in 2012, I got paid a much different amount than 20,000 views in now, and especially during the pandemic. So that is even different from 2019 to 2020. But the thing is that you could still be getting 20,000 views a day, but the rates that you were getting were so incredibly low that you were either pushed into a situation of trying to get more views to raise your revenue back up, or just sticking it out and trying to hang and get the same amount of views. If you were a business that solely relied on revenue from YouTube. I did do a couple of sponsored things right at the beginning of the pandemic, but I can also tell you that sponsorships went way down this year. In a normal year, I don't even do a lot of sponsorships. I mean, obviously this is my passion project. It is a business, but I run it as a passion as well. And so I do sponsorships when I feel like they really align with something really interesting and something that I think I would really enjoy sharing. In normal years, I don't even know, I don't have a number, but it would be well over 15 to 20 sponsorships probably. And that's just like occasionally interspersed here and there. So like you really don't even notice it, I don't think. This past year I did less than 5. So that gives you like an immediate one-to-one comparison as well too, because sponsorships went way, way down. And so for YouTubers that are solely relying on this, obviously I have multiple channels and I've done this for a long time. I really enjoy it, and I do want to focus on travel because that allows me to have my business, do travel videos, do something that I enjoy sharing, and have a passion project here locally that I actually work for and I'm an employee of. So I work for a nonprofit here locally, and I have a job that I really, really love by supporting a cause that I really believe in. And so I've always kind of had in my head that I thought I could do both, and it really has worked out to where I could do both. So for people like me, I don't have as much at stake, I guess you could say, with YouTube, but I can understand why some businesses may have felt, if their business was YouTube, that they needed to possibly ensure their future because the ad rates went down so much. However, obviously all the things that you do when you put yourself out on YouTube, you make the choice to then have it critiqued and to have it assessed. And then the choices that you make afterwards, obviously if you got a loan and say bought a new house or a new car or a expensive mini vacations, all that's going to get critiqued. And unfortunately, yes, like some of that does tie into our job. Like if you do travel as your focus, then travel is part of your content, but it's kind of a complicated situation. But what I did want to say, and again, this is definitely not saying that I agree with anything that anyone did, but I did want to say from a business perspective, I saw this comment after comment after comment of people saying like, YouTubers should be doing great. Like they had tons of people sitting at home watching their videos. Kind of, but it really depends on what sector you're in, what kinds of videos you had on your page. Like homemaking videos, I see that as being like the absolute pinnacle of, if you were in the homemaking section, you probably were doing great, but you were probably not making as much revenue per 100 or 1,000 views as you would have in normal times, because those ad rates still went down. But obviously they had the most natural segue into the situation because now we're all homemakers, right? But I definitely, you know, I can see that in my old stay-at-home mom videos where those had a bit of an uptick because now everyone is a stay-at-home / working at home parent, and we're all trying to figure this out together. But it definitely is a more complicated situation where even if you saw someone that last year at the same time was getting 250,000 less views, and then this year all of a sudden they had 250,000 more views per month, they could conceivably be making less money this year just because of ad rates, depending on the time of year it was, and depending on the location that's watching. All of those factors factor it in. So it's not as easy one-to-one as what I was seeing in the comments. And so for people that have to deal in the back end, it's more complicated. So as far as an opinion, like this is a murky opinion because like with those clear-cut Disney situations that I gave an example of, I feel like there was very much more of a clear-cut, like that was treating someone wrong. And so I think that this is a much more murky situation. It really depends, I think, on their individual actions. As a taxpayer, if someone took out a loan that was supposed to support their business and then they bought a new house or they bought a new car, it is a bit unsettling, but again, that's not my realm of finance. But I did see a number of comments and I was like, ooh, I know this. I know the back end. It is very interesting having multiple channels and being able to compare them right now because certain things are just doing way better than others. The other interesting thing when you have a lot of videos on YouTube, so kind of segueing into like general YouTube chat, the other interesting thing, and I'll just tell you guys, if you're my audience and you're like regularly here, like thank you. And I do make a lot of things just specifically for the people that subscribe. And it's a much smaller group than actually my videos go out to and make up the wider audience that watch my videos. Because really, for me personally, a lot of times the day in the life videos are more just what I would consider, and don't take this the wrong way, but they're more like toss away videos. Like I'm just doing the videos because I enjoy them and it's some way that I can share and connect. But I know going into it that a majority of those videos are not going to bring in views. With the exception of recently, there's some fridge video that I posted from 2015 that's getting views right now, and everyone's asking like what happened. And then there's just random things, like I did a toy review for Fisher-Price toy probably 6 or 7 years ago, and all of a sudden now, or like last year in 2020, that video randomly started taking off. So YouTube is definitely complicated because it's not just the views that you're getting right out the gate on the video. You can have a video that sits there for 5 years, like that Fisher-Price video is a perfect example, for 5 years. And all of a sudden YouTube decides, and I mean like YouTube, the algorithm, decides to start suggesting it out to people. And so that is where the interesting anomaly of YouTube lies. But anyhow, it has been a very abnormal time. And I'll just be kind of quite honest because I've been doing this a long time. And I've been through a lot of different fluctuations. And like I mentioned earlier, the ad rates when I first started were very, very much higher. How would you say that? They were much higher. And so early on, if you were making 20,000 views a day, it was much different rate than it is now. And you know, that fluctuates over time to what your daily watch rates are. But there was also the COPA thing that I think happened a couple years ago, and people are pretty aware of. That also really affected ad rates, especially for anyone that had anything in the kids space whatsoever. And for this channel specifically, for some of the videos, it kind of hovers that line. So I definitely saw a negative effect from revenue for that. So that's just part of being a creator, is you have to kind of continually evolve to new protocols, new procedures, new situations. And I will say, it's not something I'm necessarily proud of, but it's like, it is what it is. For comparison, I've literally been doing this since 2012, and I would have to go back and check, but I think that this past year was probably my lowest earning year from direct revenue off of YouTube, full stop, since I started. So that'll give you an idea of how much the ad rates had changed, because I was getting lower views when I first started and making a higher amount of money. So it's more complicated, I guess, than saying like, oh, they're just getting more views and at this time period, so they must be doing fine. So I saw that comment over and over, and I wanted to do a chat, and I wanted to give you that background just so that way you could take it into your account. And I don't think that anyone necessarily knows exactly what's going on with the reasons why some of the people may have chose to do that or not. So I'm not going to jump on that bandwagon. But it's definitely an interesting conundrum to be in. This whole thing is, what's that word we all hate to hear? Unprecedented. I mean, this is such an unusual situation. This is the first time this has ever happened during the life of YouTube, that a major world event has happened like this. It's affected people so widely. And now anyone that took advantage of these loans that were specifically for businesses that were struggling, if they did have a struggling business, they are now in this position of they have to justify visually what they have done in the time that, since they took that out. So anyhow, that's kind of my take on it. I'm going to be interested to see what happens with it. I wasn't aware how widespread it was, so it's been kind of interesting to find out how many YouTubers took advantage of it. Kind of makes you go like, oh, wow, well, I guess that was an idea, but I don't know. The numbers that I saw were so much smaller though, because there were businesses in Alabama, like a really well-known lawyer group got $10 million. So apparently, I started going through the list of businesses in Alabama that got PPP loans, and some of the names on there, it was almost like every single car dealership, tons of lawyer groups. So actually, if you look up businesses in your area that got these things, you may be kind of surprised, because there was people that have billions of billboards everywhere. And you, I don't know, you just may be surprised by some of the other businesses that are on there. It's an interesting scenario for sure, and it's all public information. But today was a little bit of an unusual video because we're chatting about YouTube, and I don't normally do that. But I thought I would share that because I saw those comments, and they just didn't have all the information that would be helpful. But I'm going to do kind of a question and answer or chatty video coming up soon about where we're at in life, getting back to just talking about us. So if you have any questions for that, definitely let me know down below. And I hope that this has been helpful in some way. It's definitely like a multifaceted situation. And again, I don't excuse anyone's behavior, and I'll be the first person that like kind of puts my foot down, especially in Disney groups. Like if it's someone that's behaved badly, in a Disney oriented situation and they're representing like people that put out Disney content, I definitely am not afraid to say like, hey, that was really a bad idea and they should probably apologize and not do that again. But, in this situation, it's definitely a little bit murky, and I don't know, we'll see what happens. But let me know if you have any questions or comments or anything that you'd like to see in the upcoming we'll just do another T-chat question and answer video, and that'll be coming up soon as well. Starting to get back on track because last week was so crazy at work, but we'll just have a couple fun videos here for fun, and then I'll get back on track with organizing and getting everything set and things around the house. So thanks for watching today, and have a great day.